7th of November. This is the Rec Centers of Sun City West Golf Committee meeting, and I am now calling this meeting to order. If you are able, please stand and we'll have our Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good afternoon again. I'm Rudy Grum, Chair of the Golf Committee. The time is now 1:31, and I'm calling this meeting to order. One reminder first, for anyone that has a cell phone, please either turn it off or silence the alarms. And if people have phones, I guess, on the table here, they might interfere with the microphone, so please take them off the table. We've done our Pledge of Allegiance. Quorum has been established. We do have 7 members present today. We do have a 9th member now, Mr. David Eichner. He was unable to be present today due to a previous commitment. I will read our standard meeting procedures, which is read at all committee and board meetings. The governing board conducts all of its meetings, including committee meetings, in compliance with the Arizona open meeting laws per ARS 33-1804 and in concert with the RCSCW bylaws, policies, and standing rules. Parliamentary procedures, as outlined in the most recent edition of Robert's Rules of Orders, will also be followed, consistent with Bylaw 3.07 and Standing Rules 2 and 3. All questions and comments are directed to the committee chairperson. All comments are entertained at the discretion of the committee chairperson. Speakers shall state their name and member number and speak in a courteous manner. You'll come to the microphone and please write your name and rec card number at that time. The committee chairperson may limit commentary time and number of commentators or speakers on any issue. The committee chairman may also redirect commentary at any individual agenda items to the general guest comment agenda line item, except when committee has discussed the agenda item and consensus or agreement is sought. All fire and room safety precautions and regulations are strictly obeyed at all meetings per the guidance of the Arizona Fire and Medical Authority. The committee chairperson reserves the right to adjourn any meeting if the safety of the committee, meeting attendees, or others is deemed at risk, or if there is too much disruption to continue. After one verbal warning by the chairperson, the committee chairperson also reserves the right to ask any meeting attendees to leave any meeting should their behavior be deemed dangerous or unacceptable. Disciplinary action may follow. Thank you. Okay, we'll get right into our really first order of business, the minutes of the October 10th meeting. They were posted on governing board docs. If everyone has had a chance to read them, any suggested changes or comments? Seeing none, the minutes of the October 10th meeting will stand as written. Golf operations, Mr. Pat O'Hara will give us our first presentation.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. It's a little breezy out there, isn't it? Where'd the fall go? Let's make sure we've got this working. Okay. Okay. All right. Very good. I wanted to put this back up on the screen for everyone to see. We're finished our second event. We had the 29th annual octogenarian event. This last, I guess it's been a couple weeks, a couple Saturdays, Sundays ago. I like to showcase this a little bit and build it up because I think this is the essence of Sun City West from a global perspective. We had 76 octogenarians play on Saturday over at Stardust on the 26th. Out of those 76, we had 9 that were over 90. Oldest one being 94, which is incredible in its own right. So you see the watermark there, 1944. You had to be born in the year 1944 or earlier. They ranged from 1944 to 1930. So you might recognize a few names up there. We do a men's and ladies flight, and then we do what we call a Peoria flight. This allows golfers without a handicap to play, and we blind draw 3 holes on each 9 to give them a handicap. Draw your attention to Robert Dede's score of 62. So that's pretty salty from the white tees at Stardust. Oop, I'll get it here in a minute. Couple pictures of some of the players. And it was a pretty day. Going forward, we're in the middle of finishing the hiring of our player assistants. We hire 27 every year. This year we ended up hiring 6 new player assistants. We've done some AED training. Got one more session of that, and then we also have a couple evenings of training here in the lecture hall. So we're excited about the new additions and looking forward to a busy season. Wanted to throw a couple slides up here. This is last year's fiscal. As everyone knows, our fiscal is from July through June. With our new range ball machines, you can see the annual revenue for those courses. Pebblebrook was the busiest one this year. Typically it's Grandview. So Grandview wasn't as high due to the fact that it was going through a remodel and closed for quite a bit longer. But you can see that 3.9 million golf balls were hit last year, which is just incredible. We've got some practicers out there. Also wanted to share this with you. This is most beers sold. So if you go through our torch presentations, these are a few of the slides that I like to present just to kind of put it in perspective. Deer Valley, I think, has got some problems up there with $111,000 beer drunk. But
do you have that by gender?
I do not. I do not. Gender, left-hander, right-hander, got to do it all. Pebblebrook tends to be one of the mainstays. So just kind of, I'm sorry that came out so dark. It's too bad. But you can see 516,000 worth of beer and wine. So I got to give wine credit too there. So I think it's scary that beer and wine sales are higher than practice balls. Just a reminder, especially this time of year when we're going over with the overseeding, we really need to watch our cart traffic, give that new grass a chance to establish itself. So 15 feet for medical flags, 30 feet for everybody else. You know, we just still see people 9, 18 when we try to catch them as they're leaving to remind them you really can't take that cart between the green and the bunker. Things of that nature. So this right here is really a green grass program in the sense that we've got to do it within our own group. So we're really trying to push this with our employees saying, hey, we've got to really take control of this and give Todd and his staff a chance to get this grass established. So, and there you go.
Okay, thank you, Pat. First, any questions from anyone on the committee?
I just have a quick question. At all the courses, we're talking alcohol here because that's important, as we can see. But would it be better value for Sun City West if all the courses had the same product? Would you not get a better price because it's not consistent across the courses?
Right. So the challenge that we have here in Sun City West is we're trying to make these, we've got to follow certain policies to make these courses alike. But if you've played golf for any period of time, you know that every golf course that you walk in has a different feel, it has a different personality, and it has a different edge to it, if you will. And that's, we're trying not to lose that. We're trying to, if something works at one place And Nibby Musa, one of my managers, is really good at trying to experiment with this. He's really willing to try. In fact, he's trying new wines this month to see if it works. It's going to be the same wine that's at the bowling alley. So we're going to try that. We play with it a little bit. You might say, yeah, but I'd like to have that at all 7. It might not be the biggest seller at all 7. To your answer, or to your question about quantity discount, it really doesn't work that way for us. If I order 3 cases, I get the same price if I order 6 cases. So different location, one account, but it's looked upon as separate locations. Okay? But if you have suggestions, let us know. We'll bring it in. It wasn't that long ago. Here's a real interesting story. It was at Desert Trails, and it was our Budweiser distributor. Had it on main line, had it on the tap, and my manager couldn't get anybody out to fix it. And so she called me up and said, hey, Pat, I can't get anybody to fix the line for the Budweiser. And I said, okay, why don't you call the other distributor? Well, it's not their beer. I'd just give them a call and see what they do. Well, and within 30 minutes, they were out, and they fixed it. And she called me back and says, yeah, they fixed it, didn't charge us. But I feel bad. I think I should do something. I said, well, you might try one of their products. Well, the product happened to be Coors Light, which at the time was the second most popular light beer. And so she gave one of the taps Coors Light, and it hasn't left due to sales. It's just a popular brand. And so those things like that, I want to kind of leave in their court to play around a little bit and see what kind of service and sales they can get out of it. Okay?
I just have one other question.
Yeah.
Rudy, or can I talk? Pat, on these AEDs, do the player assistants carry those on the cart?
They do.
Oh,
They
I didn't
do.
know that.
So Tuesday and Wednesday of next week, we've got a training in here, and there's a list of tools or pieces of equipment on the cart. So we've got AEDs, we've got a fire extinguisher, we've got a first aid kit, we've got a plunger for those emergencies, additional toilet paper and paper towels. So they're very well stocked, and AEDs happen to be on every one of our carts.
Anyone else? Anything online? And anyone from the audience have a question for Mr. O'Hara? Sir.
Yes, we do have a comment line. This is from Gary Sadler, but there's no rec number. Can you share what work was done this summer at Pebblebrook and Stardust? That's more a Todd question, though.
Well, since Todd, Mr. Patty's next with Environmental Services, we do have a question, and then we'll hold it till after your presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Look at that. All right. All right. Good afternoon. Just a couple items today. Overseeding update, our year-to-date water usage, and then our capital project update and a shoreline hardscape, and then just an update on the Echo Mesa project that starts April of 2025. On the overseeding, open courses, Pebblebrook, Stardust, Deer Valley, and Desert Trails, we're still seeding fairways just because of the amount of Bermuda that came back. So we've seeded them at least 4 times. And I think I've talked to you about this before, that this is a normal practice that we do on the first courses. We always go out and reseed those, but we're having to do a little bit more this year just because of the amount of Bermuda that came back and the heat that we had. So it's more, I think we're seeing more Bermuda that came back on the common Bermuda golf courses, which would be Pebblebrook and Stardust. Not so much up at Desert Trails and Deer Valley because they have the 328. But we have been seeding those golf courses as well. Now that the temperatures have dropped this week, as you know, today was pretty cold this morning, and then we're looking at maybe even a touch of frost tomorrow morning, probably on the outlying areas. But with that, we're able to drop the height on the overseeded areas. So that would be fairways, tees, and especially greens. I think you'll see a noticeable difference on the greens next week if you've played this week in the men's league or ladies club. Next week, I think you'll see a noticeable difference in the speed of the greens and being able to do that. The other thing, too, that we're able to do now with the cooler weather is we can actually get out there and fertilize. When it was hot, we couldn't fertilize because we would have been feeding the Bermuda grass, which is the last thing that we wanted to do. So with the cooler temperatures, we can get out there and start spraying those ryegrass areas, kind of get the color to perk up a little bit and get some extra growth out there. And then on the last 3 golf courses, they're coming in quite a bit slower just because of the cooler weather. And so we do have germination everywhere. In fact, we started to see germination about 3 days ago. So I'd say most of the seed has popped on the last 3 golf courses. Earlier this week, as I mentioned, we did start to see some germination, and we are going to start mowing those areas probably as soon as Monday, based on what I was looking at today. I think after this weekend, it's going to get up into the upper 70s, around 80, which is perfect growing weather for that ryegrass, get that going. So I'm thinking probably Monday and Tuesday, we should be mowing everything on the last golf courses. And so the last 3 courses are scheduled to open on Tuesday, November 19th, as planned. So no change there. The only thing I think you might see when we do reopen those, some things are going to be a little bit thinner, especially the greens, but they'll thicken up. And with us being able to go out and fertilize those and pump those up a little bit, it won't be long before those get up to speed with the other golf courses. So, but it has been a challenging year. You know, we had the heat up front. We had wind yesterday, which caused a few problems for us, you know, trying to get good water out there, and we weren't able to get the water where we wanted it. So we had to play the wind. So we had to turn on heads that we weren't in the overseed cycle. And so we had to use those to kind of get some water out on those overseeds. So it's definitely been a tough year with the overseeding, but you know, we're committed to making this work, and we want nice golf courses. We want perfect conditions out there this winter, and we're not going to stop until we get it. And that's why we're out there every day seeding, and you will be fertilizing and just making things right out there. So be patient with us. It's going to take a little bit of time, but we're going to get there. All right. All right, our year-to-date water usage. This is through October, and you can see that we've actually used 28 acre-feet more this year than we did in 2023, which is pretty good considering we had the hottest summer on record ever. Very little rainfall during that time, so I think we're doing pretty good. That works out to be about 4 acre-feet per golf course, and that's through October. So I think we're going to be in pretty good shape at the end of the year. As you know, we were under our allotment last year by a little bit, so I think we're going to meet our conservation allotment again this year. And then again, I'm going to break out Grandview Golf Course because of the irrigation turf reduction project that we had over there. And I'm not using 2023, the project year, but 2022. So you can see that we've actually used 44 acre-feet less for that time period, year-to-date comparison in this year's. And again, I think that's very good with the heat that we've had. But the new system, I think, is doing a good job. And I think we're going to continue to see our water conservation improve over there at Grandview. And then I think it was last meeting, I presented the energy comparison numbers from the pump station and the well pump. And I didn't have time to put those together because of the overseeding, but I'll present those next month, and you can see where we're at. But again, that's going to be a big savings, and that's just going to continue to go on. And then our capital improvement project over at Trail Ridge on number 3. It's that lake that's to the right of the green over there. We started that on the day that we closed for overseeding on Thursday, the 24th, and we did outsource that. So we had an outside company come in. I think it was the same company that did a lot of work over there at Grandview last summer on the irrigation and desert. And so they completed that on Saturday, the 26th. We had a budget of $48,000. We did come in under budget by about $7,500. And again, like the other projects that we have on our shorelines, it does reduce water loss and stops erosion. And that's just another picture of the whole on the green. It's not the best picture because this was right at overseeding, so everything's browned out. So I'll get a better picture of that at some point. But it really dressed up that hole. Absolutely. And then The other thing I did want to talk about, go to my last, the Echo Mesa project. Not much has changed. Next month on the 5th, we have a public forum here in this room from 1 to 3, and then we have a second one scheduled for Friday, the 14th, February. And we are going to install the new pump station in January. We were planning on doing it this summer, but since it was so hot and dry, I didn't want to take the pump station offline and not water the golf course for several days. So that's going to happen. And everything else is on schedule. The start date on the 7th of April. That Monday, we'll close the golf course, and we're looking at a completion date of August 29th, and then we'll go into the fall overseeding, and then reopening the golf course on Tuesday, October 21st. So GPS mapping has been completed. We've established our turf lines over there at Echo Mesa on the perimeters, and all of our permits for road crossing main lines has been submitted and approved. So we're kind of ahead of the game on that part of it. So. Well, anyway, the other thing I did want to talk about today, I'm getting a lot of, over the last couple of weeks, I think it has to do with people coming back from being gone during the summer, and they live on Grandview Golf Course, getting a lot of comments about the trees that we lost over there at Grandview over the summer with the project. So anyway, we do have a replacement plan that's going to take place right after the Thanksgiving holiday. And we're going to go out and stake all the trees beforehand so everyone can kind of get a look at where the trees are going to go, especially the homeowners. We lost about 93 trees. So if you put that percentage, that's about 9% of trees that we lost over there. So I know it sounds like a lot, but you know what? If you go around and you drive around the community, you look at other golf courses, you look at homeowners and stuff, there's dead trees everywhere. I saw some just coming over here to the meeting, and it was just one of those summers. In fact, there was an article, or there's been a couple of articles that come out and talked about the trees in Phoenix, especially the pine trees. They said in 25 years, you're going to be hard pressed to find a pine tree in Phoenix. That's just with it getting so hot during the summer, you're just not going to see them anymore. So they were talking about, or one thing that I've heard from some of the homeowners, that we didn't water the trees, and that's not true. We did hook up a water source, and they were getting water. So it's just that they weren't getting the same type of water that they were before. They weren't getting that overhead water from the sprinkler system for 40-some years. So we changed that on those trees, and they just could not adjust to a different method of receiving water. And I knew that going into the project that we're going to lose, because I've talked to some people that have done this project, this turf conversion project, and they all said the same thing. Hey, we've lost trees. I know there's homeowner associations in Sun City West that I've talked to about converting their grass over to desert. And when they do that, I've always said, watch out, because you're going to lose these trees. And sure enough, within a year, they're all gone. They had to cut them down. I can't explain it. I don't know what it is about changing up that water source, but they just have a really tough time adapting to that. They just can't adjust. So pine trees, Chinese elms, eucalyptus trees, ash trees were part of the trees that were affected the most. So we're definitely not going to be putting any more of those in with this tree program. Some of the trees that we are going to use, we've identified 4 varieties: southern live oak, Chinese pistache, the red push, thornless mesquites, and then the shoestring acacia, which are all trees that did very well over the last couple of summers. So those are the trees that we're going to be using in this replacement program. And those are going to be anywhere from like a 15-inch box, maybe up to a 15-inch gallon to a 24-inch box tree, depending on the location. So again, we're going to start that right after the Thanksgiving holiday. And I would like to remind everybody that with the project over at Grandview, we did install 278 new trees on road crossings, street fronts, and along the wall on Grand Avenue. So we have been replacing trees. So if you look at that, we're actually ahead of it, of what we lost. But again, about 9% of the trees is what we lost over there. Right.
Okay, thank you, Todd. Any questions from any committee members?
And then there was a question.
We had one question online.
Yes, this is from Gary Sadler. Can you share what work was done this summer at Pebblebrook and Stardust?
Yeah, I think we did a lot of weed eradication. We did a lot of spraying over there. We did a lot of tree work over there, replacing trees, removing trees, trimming trees. The biggest thing is that we were using that staff from Stardust and Pebblebrook to move to other golf courses that were shorthanded. So we didn't really get a lot of stuff, a lot of projects completed on those two courses just because of that. So they would go over and do course setup on one of the other golf courses that was open, and then they'd come back to their home course after that. So I think, the biggest advantage of being closed was we're able to rest the golf courses, not have any traffic out there, and so let some areas grow. So we did a little bit of tee work over there. We worked on some green tees over at Pebblebrook. And that's about it. We just didn't have a lot of manpower after we'd sent them to the other golf courses to come back and do
Mr. Miller?
Todd, when we did the tour of Pebblebrook, you commented that you had changed one of the bunkers on one of the par fives. You'd reduced the size or done something?
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, at Pebblebrook on number 4, we kind of reduced the bunker, and then it was a real high traffic area where all the carts were funneled into one area, and it was always beat down during the summer from the traffic. So we kind of extended that turf area up to the bunker and kind of made a little bit wider area for cart traffic. It seems to be holding up pretty well right now. And then on 18, thanks, Pat. Yeah, on the bunker on 18, we did some work on that because everything was sloping. All the water was sloping down into the bunker. So we made some changes over there to kind of prevent that from that bunker from washing out.
Thank you. Any residents have questions or comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to the financial report year-to-date by Mr. Cliff Swan.
Thank you, Director Grom. I don't know about you guys, but I could sit here and listen to Todd Patty talk about golf landscape all day. And now you're treated with financial information after that. I'm sorry. But with that said, I'll get going for the September year-to-date financials. So let's get started. Okay, so year-to-date through September, golf was a little bit behind budget. I mean, all weather related, really. But 28,000 on 1.243 million. Not too bad considering. I will say the trend did continue a little bit in October. I have a little tickler there for next month presentation. So, but yeah, it was just mainly weather related. Looking at the rounds, 1,343 rounds behind budget, and you can see kind of the mix there. Member rounds down, non-member rounds kind of held and outpaced budget, but not too bad considering the weather. But again, we had about 1,900 rounds behind budget for the month of October, looking at the numbers as we compile those right now. It's early days, nothing to be afraid of, but we are struggling a little bit to budget because of the weather. The good news on the expense side, 343,000 favorable. I will say landscape maintenance, we took advantage of a chemical buying program in the month of October, so you're going to see that really swing the other way next month. But we had some significant savings by buying a large amount of chemicals in the month of October. So you'll see that swing the other way, but 153,000 favorable in landscape alone through September. 343 total favorable. So 315,000 favorable to budget in terms of operating cash outflow. Compared to prior year, 22,000 favorable in revenue, but you can see that the rounds are down 1,600 compared to prior year. We budgeted 320,000 rounds. We came in 323,000 rounds for the year last year. So we're gonna the prior year rounds are gonna be off by a little bit to budget just because we came in higher in budget. Came in higher in prior year rounds than we budgeted this year. But pretty much equal at 320,000 rounds. So taking a look at the revenue mix when it comes to golf card revenue. So through September, the golf card revenue was positive 23,000 and positive. You can see where the changes in the card types are, and you can see the unlimited card is 14,000 favorable to prior year. So it's up 6% in card revenue compared to prior year. And then when we compare the greens fees themselves, that's obviously going to have an impact on our greens fees, because not only are we down 1,600+ rounds, we've also increased our card play, which is going to drop our greens fee in some of those areas, but still 13,000 favorable in greens fee revenue at a 2% increase through September.
Rudy, can you go back to that previous slide? I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
The non-member green fee, is that the outside public that can buy an unlimited card? What is that?
No, these are just greens fees. So you have
just
the
greens
resident
fees.
greens fee, and then it's basically non-resident green fees. But so any guest or
I guess I was
public.
confused because Coyote and Kachina. I'm not sure what this one is telling me.
Well, Coyote and Kachina still pay a greens fee when.
Right.
Yeah, so it's the greens fee we collect. At
I
the
see.
time.
I'm sorry.
Yes, no worries. So taking a look at expenses, pretty good. I mean, if compared to prior year, 194,000 favorable. Some of this, again, like I talked about earlier, is timing. So as we get through overseeding and get through fertilization and get through October, and we'll have a better comparison just because of the time we were delayed a little bit on overseeding this year. So we'll see some swings compared to prior year, but 194,000 favorable, and we'll keep, of course, tracking that. But labor, again, some of that is also timing because of the delay in overseeding. Overtime can hit in one period and not another in year over year. So, but 194 total favorable on the expense side.
When you look at the wages, benefits, and taxes as being beyond budget, does that mean we're staffed up better than we were before? What exactly is that?
So this is versus prior year. Are you talking about budget or prior year?
Either one.
Okay, so we're favorable to budget in wages and benefits and taxes, and that is because of empty positions mainly. So we're doing the work with less people, and not only is it just wages, but also everything that goes along with wages, the taxes, the benefits, and all the other things. So, for example, if we had someone on a family health insurance plan in that position last year and they aren't, then that's a savings in their health insurance.
So how are we with positions for the golf maintenance crews?
Todd, where are you
How
at?
far down are we?
I think we're about 6 greenskeepers. Sorry. As of today, I think we're about 6 greenskeepers down right now. And
Across
we've
all
been
7 courses?
Yeah, across the board there. We've been hiring quite a few people, but again, they last for a few days and then they kind of disappear, and so we hire some new ones and stuff. But I think we're 6 is the number, and that's greenskeepers.
No, I just want to follow back up on Tim's question, actually. I think, maybe I just asked the question a different way. If you were fully staffed and you look at the wage and benefits line, according to what you said, Cliff, this would show a negative unfavorable, and it shouldn't, because you budget for fully staffed. So,
That's correct.
Tim, is that what you were asking, kind of?
Well, I really wanted to know how we stand on how many people we have and how many people we're down.
Yeah, and I think Todd answered that, and then we are ahead of budget, so that would make sense, Kathy, that we are not fully staffed currently. So we're favorable 92,000 compared to budget and wages, benefits, and taxes. Yeah, that was versus prior year. I was just on the last one, but we are favorable to budget. So we budgeted those seats. They're empty, and we have a savings there. Compared to prior year, we budgeted higher wages, benefits, and taxes. I'm not sure how we rate in terms of empty seats last year at this time versus this time. I would imagine
I
that
see.
we probably have maybe a couple more empty seats this year, because I would anticipate that that would be
Previous year,
higher than 9,000. But yes, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So overall, 216,000 favorable to prior year in operating cash inflow. And that concludes my financial presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Questions?
We've had a few questions, but any other questions from the committee members? Anything online? Anyone in the audience? Question on our finances?
Oh, I did have a question from Mr. Miller earlier. He asked about the CFO financial report. It's not posted currently for September. We'll get that posted on the website. We did not post the September financials because we didn't present those to BNF or the governing board yet, because we're doing October year-to-date. But there was some confusion there, because we're going to continue to post those even though we haven't presented them to BNF. So we'll get that posted right away.
Yeah, before the meeting, I had asked Cliff the question, because when I see these slides, they're full of information, but I much prefer charts and graphs to just rows of numbers. And so the report that they put out, that's posted on the main Sun City West website, has a golf CFO report that has a lot of graphs in there, which resonates again with me. And so I was asking the question of, why don't we talk about that report in this meeting rather than this one? And so Cliff's response was really, this was intended to be more of a kind of high-level integrated kind of thing. But I guess I would ask the question, what does the committee want to see, as opposed to what is it that you want to show us? So that's not a
sure.
rhetorical question. That's a question that the committee needs to discuss at a different time.
Thank you. Any,
May I make a suggestion there?
certainly?
Yeah,
you know-
is there any reason we can't discuss it now? Personally, I'm a visual person. I like charts and graphs. And then I like the full expense report, the one-pager. You can see it. That's my
Okay, so we've
opinion.
got a couple people that are in favor of more charts and graphs compared to just the slides. Would anyone else? Ron?
I think charts are easier to have comparable figures.
Mr. Hurley?
I am interested in how many rounds we have, what's the dollar value per round, how the rounds compare to budget and compare to fiscal year. Expenses, you can, for my way of thinking, you can handle on a higher level, because I don't know that we really need to know merchandising and all that kind of stuff. Landscape maintenance, supplies and services and equipment. So expenses at a higher level is fine for me, but when it comes to the revenue side, I would like more detail.
Yes, sir.
One of the things, again, I'm a scientist by training, and so I dealt with numbers and all sorts of data for years. And so one of the things that I think it's important for the committee to understand is the trends. And so, like I was telling Cliff before the meeting, when I see a bar chart or I see a line graph or something like that, it's very easy for me, if I only have 3 data points, I can extrapolate a trend. If I have 4 or 5, I can quickly see whether the rounds are going up, the rounds are going down, what's happening at what course. And, and I don't really get the sense of that with this financial report. I mean, there's good data in here, but, really and truly, what is it the committee is wanting to understand in terms of how healthy is golf? What are the trends? What are we seeing? So I'll kind of go back to the beer thing, right? I just found out the other day that actually the the pro at each of the courses is the one that decides what the beer is that's sold. I mean, I didn't know that. Okay. It may be, I don't know. But, so I think there's just all sorts of interesting little data that I think would be easier for us to quickly digest if it was in a graphical form rather than just rows of numbers. So that's just me.
I would have to agree with David. I think seeing trends is more information than just taking a snapshot in time. Seeing what it's doing month over month, which is going up, going down. So I agree with you, David.
Al?
I guess I would like to see more detailed information as far as the income. Also, I find it less useful comparing prior year because 1,000 things could have happened over the prior year situation. I would be more comfortable with more detail as far as budget and actual.
Vanessa?
I agree. I believe a chart with a longer pre-term information, so we have a better comparable instead of just that 1 year. Like Al said, things changed. Grandview was closed. That doesn't really compare for over the year. I know some of that is taken out, but if you've got graphs showing the fluctuations over the last 5 years, for instance, it might be a better visual, better help on understanding where everything is going.
Yeah. Okay. So some feedback after hearing that. We can certainly provide, have you all seen the CFO report that we post? So, yeah, so I would say if you could maybe take some time to take a look at that, and if there's some things on there that you'd like to see monthly, quarterly, in this meeting, if you can let Rudy know, to let me know, we could certainly include that. Or if there's something additional that you're not seeing there and that you'd like to see, so I can know specifically what it is. I will say we do compare, actually prior year is a good comparison when you're looking at revenue, because it's a good way to gauge where you're at. Because we could put a budget together all day long, right? We don't know with a budget what's going to happen. We anticipate, but we don't really know. So it's always good to look at prior year when you're looking at revenue line items or kind of, I don't want to say profit centers, but golf and bowling are different than membership, for example. So it's good to have a prior year comparison because things happen year over year in the market that you may not necessarily have anticipated in a budget. So it is good to have that, but yeah, if my request to this committee would be that spend some time on that CFO report that we post, and then if there's something additional or not in there that you'd like to see, or if you could pick some items out of there, we'll get a little cumbersome if we have too much stuff. That's why we try and keep it high level. In terms of a financial report, the conversations about, presenting what we present is to show the results, really, the way this is set up. But if we want to show trends and things like that, it's kind of more of an operations hybrid type of a financial model, which I can work with Pat to put something together for that.
Rudy? I'm with Vanessa and Dave and everybody else on this. I think in one of these meetings, and maybe it's every meeting, you show some different information, but getting a sense of the number of rounds that are played in Deer Valley over the past 5 years. Is it going up? Is it going down? I know we have some of the courses closed, but after a while, they're not, it's going to rectify itself once they're back open and stuff. But getting a feel for those trends, getting a feel for the increase in the rates, getting a feel what's happened over the past 5 years with public rates versus non-public. I don't think it's too early to start talking about that. and in educating the committee as a committee member, what are the important pieces we need to keep our eye on in terms of potential ups and downs, or is there a tsunami coming at us that we're not aware of? And that's, what's your 5-year plan for the golf course? Yeah, I'm sure you have one. What's the increases you're anticipated in your fees? I'm sure you have one. So, looking not only behind, but where are we going in the future? Now, you're going to tell me we do that during budget time. And I'm going to tell you there's not very much time to react to any of that. Because as a committee member, we don't have much time to talk and react. So just a thought. I agree with the trends and stuff.
So you're saying, in a sense, less direct financial information, but more usage or?
I think the financial, what everybody said, I think is appropriate. I mean, and I think charts and graphs are good. I think it's the trends that we want to know too. So pick some trends that maybe aren't even up here. I mean, I have no idea. Well, I'll use the crazy beer sales. Well, those are great numbers. Are we drinking more or less? Are we hitting the ball more or less? Or, it doesn't tell me anything, other than the first time I see it, I'm educated to know that we drink, I think, a lot of beer, but, so it's the trends that I think are important in any kind of financial planning for a committee to understand and where we're going in that. And I use beer as an example when it's really golf rounds that Tim alluded to and stuff were important. So I don't think you need any more guidance from us. I think you've heard enough from us. You need to come back and show us what you heard from us.
Yeah, I'm going to need some
Yeah.
guidance. So if you can do what I asked you to do, that would work out, and then I'll be able to present some stuff.
Send us the link.
It's on the website. It's posted monthly.
So the understanding is everyone will take a look to see how it's presented with the CFO report and give inputs to me within a couple weeks. And then we'll see that next month's report can reflect information that more of what the committee would like to see, and then go from there.
Yeah.
So here's an example where I think looking forward for data could be beneficial in the long term. We every year have a deep, intense conversation about what the rates. You just had a phone go off for those. That's why I was dancing. So every year we have this deep, intense conversation about outside play rates. Okay, I would be interested in understanding, now that we have the ability to track truly what is an outside play, because they're paying sales tax and we're tracking that now. I think now would be the time to start trending that and looking at it from where is the outside play actually happening? Is it all at Grandview? Is it spread across all the courses? And start looking at that. And maybe you know that already. Okay, all right.
Yeah, but
We don't, yeah. So those are the kind of things that I would like to understand. And so we'll do what you ask. We'll put some information in for Rudy. And it all goes back to really and truly, what does the committee need in order to fulfill its charter? And so, we'll get that and put it together, and then
Okay.
we'll go from there.
Yeah, my point of saying that is we put a lot of information out there. I just don't know if the information that we're putting out there needs to be presented here. And if it does, I'm happy to do that. If there's something that's not included in what we put out there, which is in this CFO report, there's tons of data, tons of information. If there's something additional, it's just a good place to start, okay? We certainly look at trends operationally. Mostly from the finance side, we're reporting, okay? So, but Pat we've got, how many reports in Power BI do we have? I mean, we could spend hours going through our Power BI reports that give us all kind of data and information
Well,
that we analyze and look at. But, okay, I want to know what this committee wants to see so that I can put it in a consumable format that makes sense.
In the spirit
To
of
this
not
committee.
causing either one of you guys any more work than is absolutely necessary, perhaps it would be beneficial to get the list of the reports that you currently generate, so we actually understand what's available. And then, we can look at them, and if it's not decipherable, we can come back and say, we'd like this streamlined in a different way.
We don't open, operationally, we don't open our reports to the community. So I think there's a big chunk of information. Please just go to the CFO report, look at it, and let me know if what's on there is beneficial. And if there's something that is not on there that you want to see, just let me know. I mean, that's a pretty,
I want to push
Easy
back.
ask.
I want to push back, Cliff. Actually, I'm going to talk to you, Rudy. As a committee, we should, if we're doing our job as a golf committee and looking at challenges, I'm going to use the word challenges because, there's good things and bad things, then understanding the kind of data and information to tell that story is going to be important. If we don't know what they have the capability of, or if they are generating reports now, then give us the list of the reports. This is a public meeting. We're in open meetings. We should be able to at least see, are we going to ask for every single one? No. But we should be able to, as a golf committee, see what impacts golf. It's just my feeling. I feel like we're trying to pick out a star here and there, and you tell us what you want. My goodness, you show me what you have. It's just I don't know how the other committee members feel. I think Dave has a valid point.
Is that possible to do?
Is the hesitation your boss?
hang on a sec. This is going off the rails,
No,
okay?
I
This
don't
is,
think it's going-
Tim, can you please?
Yeah. I think when we ask for information, we need to ask information that is going to impact the decisions that we make, okay? Pricing is certainly one of them. What happens to the courses is a certain other one. How they're maintained is a certain other one. We don't need to dissect every single fraction of what happens here. So I think the idea would be to understand what the charter of the golf committee is, what type of information do you need to do that job, and ask for that information. And from what I'm hearing, I'm really hearing that it's not necessarily the information we're getting, it's the format that it's coming in. You know, and I think charts and graphs could be easily adapted by some of these things. And again, it's a lot of this information is a point in time where I would like to see, as David suggests, the continuum of where we are versus prior year versus budget, because budget's based on prior year and where we actually are.
Yeah.
That's what I think we really need.
And that CFO golf report has that data. That's why I'm asking to start there. And that's all I'm asking. Please just start there, and then we can go from there.
I'm going to ask again, would you please send a link? I'm on the suncitywest.com financial report, and I don't see the CFO report. So just send us a link, please.
When the meeting's over, we'll bring it up after.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think as a starting point, we'll do this. We'll look at the CFO report, see what we like, what we might want. And then for next month, we'll see what you present. And if changes are needed, we'll take it from there. Everyone for the moment? Okay. Any questions from the audience? Yes, sir.
Tom Wogemuth, 112417. I'm going to ask the chairman's permission. I have some unrelated items, but I can't stay for the whole meeting. If I could just bring them up quickly here.
Unrelated as far as to the finance, but
Yes.
related to golf.
Right.
Would everyone be okay? Please go ahead.
Pat O'Hare, When we got the new ball machines, this committee had some lengthy discussions about the noise and about moving them to the driving range side. And if I remember right, the consensus basically was that when we have major maintenance work to be done at a course, we would do that. My question is, are we planning to move the machine at Echo Mesa next year during this closure? And if not, can we do that? It would probably increase your beer sales.
Right. Yeah, to your point, Tom, we do that in conjunction. Todd's got a project at Echo Mesa, but we tie it into the construction of the parking lot where they have to go in and get down to the base. That allows us to trench because we're gonna have to trench power from the building to the T. So it'll be in conjunction with that, and without, off the top of my head, I don't know if that's next year or not. So I'll get with Carl, and Carl has that schedule as far as parking lot refurbishing.
Okay.
Okay.
And Todd, when you put the new tees or the new trees in a Grandview, I'm sure you want to protect them from play. So we need to institute a local rule that there are no play zones. So when you put them in, please put some kind of a red ribbon or bow or plastic on them because they will have to be identified beyond just being staked. But then we can introduce that local rule.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Like you said, they will all be stake trees, and then we can identify them as new trees with some type of a colored ribbon on those as well. So.
Okay. And I think I heard the chairman say that David Eigner is joining this committee. Great. He's a very good rules official, so I won't be needed.
Okay, thank you very much. With no other financial questions, you have anything else? Okay, we will move on with the agenda. And the next item is 4.01, the golf committee tours. Do we have that available? But just to give while I see if the slide's available, we've completed 2 tours, which was 4 courses of Pebblebrook Stardust, Deer Valley, and Desert Trails. We just added on next Wednesday at 12:30. We will have a tour of the golf lab, anticipated to last about 30 minutes or so with a demonstration. Everyone's welcome. And then our final two tours will be Echo Mesa the day after, November 14th. And I hope, Todd, that we'll can show some idea maybe of where turf will be removed and all while we do that tour. And then our final tour, while the course is still closed, will be Grandview and Trail Ridge on November 18th at 2 p.m. Everyone's invited to come along. If you do come, bring a golf cart. Moving on to the next item of business, 4.0.
Excuse me, Rudy?
Yes, sir.
I had a little chat with Dave Arn today and about the golf lab tour, and he did not realize that you scheduled that on a Wednesday, which is men's golf day. Well, yeah, but I mean, the men are playing golf. No, but I play at Deer Valley, and it's my golf day. Any chance to reschedule that? And no is a fine answer. I mean,
I don't know. When we looked at it, we kind of looked at his schedule, and that was a good day for them.
okay.
And like I say, we've got potentially 9 people or more, so.
No problem.
But I would like to keep it, and if we need a follow-up tour, maybe we can do that with him.
Buddies with Dave, so.
Pardon me?
I said I'm buddies with Dave, so.
Okay. Okay. Well,
But
then
yeah,
I'd
we
like to-
talked and he said, oh, yeah, it was later that I realized that it was
Okay.
a Wednesday, so.
Okay. No, I'd like to keep it for now, and if need be, we'll do another one. Okay. Moving on, next item is our final remaining golf policy, which is G06 administration of the golf tee time reservation system. And just to start off the discussion, I think since it's such a short policy anyways, the real issue is the management of the group play, which is actually under golf operations. Now, Pat, gave us a presentation last month about golf group play operations. Is there anything more that you'd like to say before we start some discussion?
I do have that presentation available if we need to reference that, but no, group play is an integral part of our golf here in Sun City West. It's something that's been here and longer than I've been here for sure. It was well entrenched. It's just a matter of managing it, and it's just a matter of controlling the size. But it's also a comfort level with everybody here on what that size and number looks like. I think my last slide, and I'll recap it real quick, was 28% of our prime time tee times are pre-booked before the lottery. And we spread it out, we dilute it with the 7 golf courses. We're getting ready to run the schedule and send it out. It might go out tomorrow, it might go out the first of next week. There's a lot of time and effort put into it. 1,500 rounds of golf goes across our desks every week in order to put that schedule together. So it's a challenge. It's a big part of our job. And I also think that the card sales are reflective of that. Group players tend to have the annual cards, but we also get a lot of snowbirds that play in there too. So I like the group play more so now than I did when I first arrived. Oh, Tim. Yes, but there is a use and there's a purpose for it, but we want to make sure that it's fair and equitable for everybody. So that's what my take on it is.
Okay, thank you. Part of the issue is, I guess, is that group play is kind of 2 standalone sentences under the administration of the tee time reservation system. And the way it's in there now, it really doesn't say much. My understanding is it was purposefully put in here a number of years ago. I would kind of offer up, should we bolster this to explain more about group play? And the other caveat would be that actually our leagues are exempt from the tee time system also. Would that be something we'd want to put in this policy? There's 2 situations where players can actually get tee times ahead of the tee time lottery system. So would we want to mention both of these in this policy? And I'm open for comments. Vanessa?
I'd like to see more league play instilled in this policy, because like Tuesdays is ladies' days. And if that monitor has not asked for enough tee times and 4 or 5 people, ladies, or even if it's men's day, same scenario, request that they can play because they returned a week early from their winter or summer abode, there's no tee time available. They don't get to play. It's ladies' day or it's men's day. There should be a little bit more liberal availability for add-on players. And that's nowhere to be had except experiencing it and dealing with it. So I don't know if you want to put that in a policy anywhere, or it's something that just needs to be worked out. I don't know.
I'll let Pat somewhat answer that, but I hear what you're saying. Unfortunately, I'll let him answer it, but I don't think we can, or we want to leave tee times unassigned and then go unused. But we'll see what Pat has to say first.
So it's really not ladies' day and men's day, it's ladies' league and men's league. So both the ladies and the men have first right on that tee sheet. We're under a gun for time because my lottery runs a week in advance. So what we're trying to do is maximize what we have, assets, which would be the tee times. And so we asked the monitors of each of the clubs to give us a number 7 days in advance. we don't ask them to give the names until 5 days in advance. So if somebody is coming in 3 days before league play, they might have to pass and play in the following one if there's not enough room. Because that's going to be sold out. I think you guys are experiencing it right now where if you don't get a tee time through the lottery, there's slim pickings. So we work on that 6-day window really, really hard. So that's what controls that. They can ask for 100 players, 150 players, a double shotgun, as long as they can fill it. If they can't fill it, I feel it's my charge to try and sell that tee time to our residents because they're looking to play as well. Does that make sense? These aren't going out to public players. These are going out to your fellow
Right.
resident.
But in the wintertime, when it's very busy, if there were a few additional tee times available for league play, which would alleviate the monitors' stress, because I know a lot of the monitors, and it's stressful when people say, I'm sorry, I forgot to sign up, et cetera, lots of reasons, doesn't matter. Because within, if even up to a 3-day, or even within 2 days, that tee time is going to get filled. People, even outside play, look at Golf Now, or people coming back can look at the tee sheet and see how full it is and go, great, I can't play today. And if it's a league filled, terrific. But if there's a space, then they can request that tee time as a member of the community. So I just would like to see a little bit more leeway so that all the people that belong to those clubs have the first opportunity to be able to play on the day that they want to play, not get it filled in advance. That's, it's like any club that's in our organization here. I'm just would like a little bit more leeway in there, that's all.
So this is where we have to determine how much of golf is a profit center and how much is it of an amenity. If we're not interested or don't have the desire to push the revenue, which is fine, those are decisions that can be handled that way. But for every foursome that's left available, because the person that's going to fill that last minute tee time is not going to be one of our residents, it's going to be a public player, because the resident is going to look at it 6 days ahead and say, I can't get a tee time, I'll go find something else to do. The public player is going to be looking and say, hey, I can go over to Sun City and West and find a last minute tee time. So there's a timing issue here. My goal is to fill it with residents. If you're saying that I have 80 players and I've got 25 tee times blocked off, so I've got an additional 5 tee times available, and I'm going to open those up the day before, you're going to get what you're going to get, and it's going to either be empty or it's going to be a non-resident that plays. Is who's going to get that?
Mr. Hurley has a question?
Well, it's more of a comment. Just for point of clarification, to use the word league is really a misnomer. They're chartered clubs, right? And the chartered club policy, this is more for outside charter clubs. So the charter club policy is, the charter club agrees to abide by the RRNPs so that they can get the priority on those tee times. That's the trade that's made. So I think that's maybe outside the point of this discussion, and it's more about what are we going to do with group play. And just as another clarification, I think it was 3 years ago, this segment was put in there to recognize the fact that group play was important to Sun City West, and it was just, because about every 3 or 4 years, this question comes up. And group play is very important. In fact, if you looked at the number of rounds that group play plays, it's probably the majority of what happens. So just wanted to clarify that.
Okay, I concur with what you say, because I talked to a number of people the past couple of weeks, and our group play people are routine, regular, almost daily golfers. So group play is kind of a way of life. However, I think the issue that maybe surfaces head every couple of years is the fairness or whatever in cutting out members that can't get tee times. And I don't know how often that really happens, but we do have also the ability, I don't know how many days in advance, if you know you want to play with a foursome, let's say, you can fill out a form and.
So today at 4 o'clock, we will be running the lottery for next Thursday. Once the lottery is run, and you have to option into that, once it's run, we run what we call our bump list, which is a list of players that didn't get selected in the lottery. It didn't fit their parameters. We have staff that call all the groups on that, asking them, hey, I know you didn't get a tee time, but this is what I've got available. That's important to answer because that tee sheet is frozen until midnight on Thursday night, and then it goes online over the web. So nobody can book a tee time between that 4 o'clock, 4:30 until midnight, until you go online. And then the next opportunity would be to call the call center the next morning. So when you start getting into that routine, it's going to be slim pickings. And to piggyback on Tim's comment, that's also why sweeps are the way they are. That's an exchange for booking tee times ahead of the lottery so that the rec centers can make some revenue and block those tee times off. So that's how the sweeps came about too. So that's the trade-off with the charter clubs.
The other thing, and I had to laugh at Pat's comment that he likes it more now than he did before. There's been a lot of work that's been done on group play over the past 8 years that I've been involved with it. It used to be before, and it really was unfair, but the groups would be stacked on top of each other. So if you wanted to play at a course, if there was 3 or 4 groups stacked, you couldn't play until 12. So there's a lot of work that went into separating out groups so that there's a space in between that's available for the lottery. And those have been, as Pat says, diluted through the day. Also, before, groups could say, I only want to play regulation courses. Well, now they can't. If you're in group play, you get spread across all the courses. So it's more evenly divided across, and there's more opportunity for people in the lottery or people just wanting to come and get a late time tee time.
Okay, before I say anything, I think Kathy, you have.
I'll wait for your comment.
Oh, okay. Well, I think with what Tim just said is what I found out from several people this week. Changes have been made over the years. Would it be proper, I'm asking the committee, would it be proper for us to increase the size of this section 1.3 to put in a few of those parameters? Would that help to better explain group play? Not that it's going to necessarily make it any better, but the fact that there are blocks of time that are available in the lottery system. Not you? Okay. But that will just be my comment before any more questions or comments.
I kind of have 3 comments here. First, Vanessa, how many tee times are we talking about? 4? 4 tee times. 4 tee times. 16 players. Could you go by with 1 tee time? 4 players for your extras. I'm trying to get an order of magnitude of the problem is what I am. And if it's like even just 1 tee time, that begins to give some flexibility. That seems reasonable to me. So that's just a comment there.
Right, and to address that, those buffers are put in there. We give groups an extra tee time, especially this time of year. We'll give them a foursome to try and grow in there. What the challenge is that not all of them are foursomes. The leagues or the chartered clubs will have threesomes in there, set up that way. So there's openings in there to fill the last minute players. So it's really not 4 extra tee times. We're going to eat those. We usually give a buffer on the front side and the back side. for all groups, meaning all chartered club groups of any size. Pebblebrook Men's Club, Deer Valley Men's, the ones that are doing double shotguns, they're full for the whole day. But let's take Trail Ridge Men's, for example. They do a double T start, they take the morning double T, and in the afternoon, they don't fill it. And so I have ebb and flow with them too. I can't block off 10 tee times for you just so that you can make the turn. That's 80 or 40 players.
No, I was just trying to get an order of magnitude.
Right, but that's the conversations we have. So we build in an extra spot on Tuesdays and Wednesdays for most, if not all, of the groups.
In the
And-
morning, and one in the morning and one in the afternoon is what I heard you say.
It depends on what they are.
Vanessa, were you aware of that? Or, I'm not trying to put you on the spot.
No, that's fine. Not that there was an opening time. I know Golf Ops has been very good when there's been last-minute players. I didn't know if that was going to be something that we would want to put in the group play policy. That's predominantly what I was asking, but didn't realize that, yep, there's some buffer. That's terrific. That helps the monitors out immensely. Just,
Okay.
I don't know if we want to put that in there.
Yeah,
That's all.
no, I had two other comments then. My second comment is the way this is written is not a policy. So we either have to make it a policy or remove it. And we have to determine, is it operational or is it a policy that gives us kind of rules and guidance, which typically a policy does. And then my third comment is on group play. I think group play is a privilege that no one else has unless you're in a group. I've said this before. I think there's some tweaks we can do it, and I'm not here to blow it up entirely, but I do think there's some tweaks we can do. Some of it has to do with size of groups. My other suggestion is don't always just put them in prime tea time. Put half of them in the morning and half in the afternoon, because guess what? That's when my tea time, the only tea time I can get when it's busy. And so I think there are some tweaks that can be done in here. Again, I can debate whether it's a policy or not. It's just not written as a policy right now. But I do think there still needs to be some tweaks in the group play. Personally, I think it's a privilege. I think it should be totally removed. And it's not open to the public, because if you open it up to the public, you can't accommodate that. You said that, Pat, already. You said you can accommodate on Thursday or Saturday. Well, if you get enough people that want to become a group, then let's do a lottery among the privileged. I mean, it just kind of snowballs is my point. That's my comment.
Mr. Hurley.
Yeah. This 1.3 sets it into a policy, and there is a procedure that Pat has in his office that it's a whole, what you have to do to be in group play and the rules you have to follow to be in there. So that's what we tried to do by putting this in here to say the policy. And I mean, if you want to explicitly say the policy is to support group play administered through golf operations, I'm fine with that. But this was put in to include it in the policy, and the operational portion of it is in Pat's office.
The only other I hear you. The only other comment too would be that group play allows public players in. I know you try to monitor that, but again, that's a privilege that I, as a Sun City West golf resident, don't have.
I don't, you say, I understand the privilege that the groups get, but you're saying that it's not.
It's not all Sun City West residents.
In group play.
That's correct.
What is the percentage that are not
It's
residents?
10%
10%.
per group. So if you have a group of 16, 1.6 or 2.
A group of 40, you can have 4.
Right. And so the purpose behind that was if you had a relative or somebody coming in from out of town visiting you, you could invite them to play in that group. That was the purpose behind it. It's not for somebody in Portobello that lives there and they play with that group every week. It's for somebody to come in and be able to share that experience.
So you're saying the group the members of a group is not actually fixed because they can have guests.
No, the number total is fixed. So I can have anywhere from 16 designated in a group or up to 40, multiples of 4, of course, for foursomes. But what the component of that has to be no more than 10% of non-resident play.
And those non-residents are not local non-residents.
Oh, I'm sure there's some that are,
Yeah.
but they're not there every week. They should be rotated out.
But
So,
you-
so we watch that.
Well,
Okay.
but that's not what's happening. They're coming from Portobello or Grand, and they're coming into the groups to play, so I just want to be clear on that. And some of the groups, and I'm not here to blow up the whole thing. I think we need to make some tweaks. But some of the groups play 2 or 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, whatever sequence it might be. But those non-Sun City West resident golfers are playing in those groups before any other Sun City West resident, not in a group, gets to play.
Right, so 1,500 book rounds a week, potential of 150 rounds could be from outside of the community. Right. And just to piggyback on Kathy, we've had some discussions in this, and I think maybe something in this could be written that this is reviewed every other year or something, just to make sure everybody's on the same page. But one of the good suggestions that she had made is to extend it, meaning, to her point, if a group plays and it's a 9-week schedule, maybe the first week, we have a method to this madness. First week they're teeing off at 7:30. The next week they tee off at 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30. Yeah, and this time, depending on the time of year, because, once you get past twilight, you can't get 18 in, so we'd have to buffer it from that standpoint. But that's something to look at down the road, and it would be a viable option as well.
So kind of what I'm hearing is we take a look at the way 1.3 is worded and possibly keep the spirit of group play in place, but we put some parameters in this policy. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I'd love to be part of that.
Okay.
If you want to get a subcommittee or a working group together, I'd love to be part of that.
Would, I have a few volunteers for a working group. I have Mr. Miller, Mr. Hurley. It'll definitely include Pat. Anyone else? Kathy? So now we have 4 people in a working group. And I will also then take a look at if there are any unique requirements as far as when working groups can meet, and what the purpose of the working group would be to produce a product, which would be to update section 1.3 of the policy. And then if we want to put something in there like it'll be reviewed annually, well, all these policies are reviewed annually, but we'll take a look at how well it's working. And I think part of this is, and I talked to you, Pat, when a group says they're going to have 40 players, but they only show up with 36 or 32, we are losing revenue in the sense that we might have 2 open tee times. Do we want to take a look at what happens then?
Yeah, that's part of it as well, and we have controls in place to work with that. So if somebody has 40 and they habitually are showing up with 36, and habitually would be a couple weeks in a row, we're calling them and saying, you're at 36 until you can show me that you can get 40.
That's kind of the opposite of what Vanessa was saying. At this time of the year, the monitors call during the leagues and say, I'm going to have 10 foursomes or whatever, but 2 or 3 days prior, a couple people say, I'm in town now and I'd like to play. But you've said there is some slack already built into the way the leagues operate.
So slack meaning,
potential for a
We-
few people to be fit in.
Yes, yeah, we would limit to them if we find that they're abusing the system, we limit them, yes.
I just have to make a comment that during overseeding, that's an anomaly during our year. Everybody suffers. Group play does not have group play during overseeding. You go into the lottery just like everybody else. So you really have to look at what happens during prime time to really set the policy, because that's the time when we've got everybody trying to get on the courses, and that's when conflicts can come up.
It's prime time, and that's when you've got the least hours of daylight, and the least number of tee times.
Right.
So that is something we will consider in the work group. Mr. Miller?
So I'd like to remind everybody that policies are supposed to be high-level documents, not operational procedures. So a lot of the discussion that I was hearing was turning this thing into an operational procedure. Let's not do that. The other comment I would make in regard to accommodating last-minute players in the leagues, there's a simple solution to that, which probably most clubs would not find palatable. But that is that if they want to have the ability to accommodate last-minute league members, then the clubs can pay for the tee times. Simple as that.
Good point.
Okay? If the people show up, then the club doesn't have to pay. If the people don't show up, then the club pays for the tee times. That way you keep your revenue, the clubs have accommodation and flexibility. And each club could decide whether they wanted to do that or not. So that covers both sides of it.
Okay, for purposes of today's meeting, we've established a working group, and I will let you four figure out when you want to meet, and Pat. You, Tim, Dave, Kath, and Pat. So for now, policy G06 remains dormant, and we'll see what you all come up with as to how we want to change it. Okay, thank you. Moving on. Pat has a few comments to make on the dress code. We currently do have a dress code, and there's copies of it at every pro shop. And I think Pat's going to kind of give us a rundown of what is the current dress code and what he's got some proposed changes.
Am I okay here, or do I need to go up to the podium? Okay. What I put together was a couple slides, and for me, it was just a continuation of the discussion that we have. As you can see in the first slide, the existing dress code, we really haven't modified or touched this since 2017. And so 7 years has passed, things have changed. And what really brings this into light for us is some of the fashion trends, but also we're seeing our guests, public players coming to our courses wearing something outside of what we've defined here. And it's being driven because it's a fashion forward type situation. So we want to make sure, I want to look at this, and if everybody says, hey, it looks fine the way it is, great. But I think there's a couple items that we do need to look at, because it's going to be breached more and more, and we're going to have that interaction at the counter that I think we could probably soften and change that by changing our policy or our outline here. So on the second page, the proposed, suggestions on the second page for women, for men, those are generals. We're seeing a lot of men wearing, and by a lot, I'm saying 1 or 2 a day, gym shorts, basketball shorts, the Michael Jordan shorts type deal. We're seeing, not too often, but every once in a while, it's just not as well defined, muscle shirts. We're seeing men with cap sleeves being these, they're a little bit of a sleeve. It's not a muscle shirt or a tank top, but it's not a golf shirt either, right? It's something that you would work out in. So we're seeing some of that. Racerbacks for the ladies tend to be And again, that could be fine if everybody thinks that's okay. Just trying to get some consistency here. And so on the modified dress code, I put in some red highlight areas here, kind of explain where we're trying to go with this. In order for our members and their guests to have a pleasurable atmosphere in which to enjoy our golf facilities and services, the following dress code is in effect on each of our 7 courses: practice facilities and putting greens. And I wanted to put that in because a lot of times people will say, I'm not playing golf, I'm over here practicing. Yeah, but you're in a tank top. So we define the whole area in which this pertains. You know, it wasn't that long ago that Tiger Woods came out with a mock shirt, right? Him and David Duval were the ones that came out and had the crew collar, and it just threw everybody in a tizzy. To me, those are fine. It's a crew collar is fine. It's just when we get into a t-shirt looking scenario, and I think a collared shirt or something that doesn't have a Budweiser logo or political statement on it, and as long as it's in good repair, good condition, we're trying to be inclusive here as best we can. But I also want to present a good experience for everybody, because if you sit down and have a drink on the patio, or if you're putting out there, you don't want to see somebody's hairy armpits, and you want to make sure that everybody's comfortable. Cap sleeves, gym or workout swimwear for the male, and then in the shorts and slacks, appropriate for golfing. I've reviewed a lot of these dress codes, and everybody's using that type of language, appropriate for golfing. It's appropriate. It's not some running shorts. It's not a pair of swimwear. It's appropriate for golfing. Ladies tend to be a little bit more, it's easier to say what's not included than to almost say what is included, but I wanted to make sure that if it's a shirt and sleeveless, it seems like that if there's a collar on it, it covers everything. And I'll get everybody's input on that. I'd like to hear it. And then we see some during the winter months, especially November, December, parts of January, the need or the desire to wear some kind of denim. And as long as it's nice, as long as it's in good repair, again, it's one of those things where I get it. In December, it can get cold. Are we going to make everybody wear some slacks? The norm over the years has been to let that slide. So just trying to get some direction here, and I'd really love to have everybody's input. If it's fine the way it's written, so be it. I just think these mid-thigh shorts need to be redefined, because I'm seeing women wearing things other than mid-thigh shorts. Is that correct? Are you seeing that? You know, they've got the skirts. So looking for help here, if I could get it from everybody.
Well, Pat, I'm old school, baby. If it doesn't hold a crease, then it shouldn't be worn on the golf course.
Wow. There you go. There you go.
So what I'm hearing is you are basically proposing this last page.
This is kind of the way I see it.
Okay.
But again, I'm not a female golfer. I don't know what the challenges are there. I know what I feel is appropriate from a man's point of view as far as men apparel, but I need some help defining the ladies.
And does this, even though it's defined, does this create enforcement type issues?
Yes, so this would help us.
It would help you.
Yes,
It would better help you.
it would help us, yes.
And things are actually enforced by what? People in the pro shop?
Correct.
Or the player's assistants?
So we've had discussions on this. Everybody needs to check into the pro shop. So everybody needs to be, so that the starter can see them, right? There are times when a husband and wife, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever that relationship, it could be two people, and the starter might know them, but we're having to retrain everybody. I need that, see everybody's card. And the reason behind that is you could give the starter a card and it could not be that person, right? We've got pictures on the screen, so we match them up. You know, good to see you, Mr. Jones. There's a chance to see what they're wearing, and then we can make that comments from there.
So that will then be somewhere in your operational
Correct.
policy? Okay,
That's correct.
okay. Vanessa?
I just have a comment about the ladies' shirt and dress. It says shirts may be with or without collars and sleeves. Great. And then if shirt is sleeveless, they must have a collar. So that kind of, yeah, conflicting information there. But a lot of the ladies, especially in the summertime, dresses and sleeveless shirts have a very minor collar, like just a tiny little tiff to it, or a fairly thick, a strap is not quite the right word, but there's a lot of dresses like that out there. So putting that collar on that statement is like this kind of collar. There's a lot of really lovely ladies' clothing and dresses that have a very minor, you can't even really tell it's a collar. So I'm not sure on that wording.
Anyone else with comments? Kathy?
Yeah, I'll volunteer to work with Pat. I did look at the LPGA and the PGA dress codes, and what they've gone to is two things, a simple statement and then what not to wear. So, which is really what you kind of almost have here. But the simple statement is recognized golf attire. That's their statement. Now, they have a list, and and I'm with you, Vanessa, on that, I'm just gonna, let me just read the list. Okay, what not to wear: T-shirts. Men must have shirts with sleeves, cut-off shorts, pants, on-hem clothing, no halter tops, no tank tops, no strapless tops, no spaghetti straps, no jogging bras, no racer backs without a collar. Plunging necklines are not allowed, no athletic shorts or pants, no sweatpants. Any skirt, or shorts that are short enough to see your bottom area, even if covered by undershorts at any time, standing or bending over, are not allowed. Any clothing or headwear displaying profanity, inappropriate wording, or controversial messages. And then flip-flops was the other thing on here. So I'll be happy. I mean, it's actually just kind of a list. I think the enforcement is the issue too. And I would suggest then, even if at the check-in register, you have a picture of maybe the most common problems that you have with a big, X through it or whatever. But I would like to hear from some people who haven't spoken up in the committee, how big a problem it is or isn't. How do you feel about jeans or not? Or, I mean, are we talking about a lot of people? I also think that all this change, we should go to the leagues and to the groups and get reaction to it.
So correct. I would love to take this to Golf Council, which is meeting on the 20th. It's presidents of all the both men and women golf charter clubs, and get some input from them as well, just to see because they know typically what their group is playing and what they look.
Okay, with that in mind, Pat will discuss this with the golf. Or would we rather have people think about this and provide inputs directly to you so that you could work with Pat?
Not to me. I think the route we're going to get input, I think it's important to get some input and feedback. Now, not everybody may like the end result, but at least hear what the issues may be. Like what Vanessa said, most of my sleeveless don't really have a collar, but it is a golf shirt. The other thing I will say is if you sell it, they can wear it. So if it's in the golf shops, they can wear it. So you might want to consider that too.
So what we're saying.
Tim, were you going to make a comment? No.
That's a good point. I would check the inventory as to what we're actually selling.
But, you do have sweatshirts in there, so.
I encourage everybody to go to Grandview and check out
And
the
buy something.
inventory. 20% off. Yes, so my suggestion would be to get the feedback from the chartered clubs, golf council, and come back and report what my findings are, and we'll get with Kathy and go through that, okay?
Okay, we'll look forward to that next month then, just that action. Thank Okay, that completes our new business, so we are now open to committee comments. Vanessa?
Well, I only have one comment, and it was from Mr. Wolgemuth, who mentioned the ball machine. And I was either last year or the year before that time just goes by, put in the new ice machine at Trail Ridge, and they had that pavement ripped up. They took out the bump, thank you very much, where you cross over to go to number 10. But they didn't move the ball machine. It stayed there, and it is super loud and annoying, just like the other ones that are under a cover. And at that time, when the road was ripped up to accommodate the electrical for the ice machine, why was the ball machine not moved out to the driving range?
I'll have to, I'm going off memory here. There's an expense to moving those machines, somewhere between 10 to 15,000. The ones that we've moved, we've had to add an extra electrical panel into the building. But that's a good question. I don't think that was just a resurfacing. I don't think they took it down to the core, did they? Did they?
Yes, they did. They had to put in the new wiring for the new ice machine. They moved the ice machine to the end next to the ball machine, and that's where the new ball machine came in.
Yeah, I think it
And
was a
they-
wiring deal, so, or
Yeah,
a
but they had to
power.
wire up the ice machine, so,
It was a power issue to add
Yeah.
it, so let me find out.
okay.
But that's the driving factor, is to tie it in with, so that we're not doing it twice,
Right.
right?
And that's all handled by the properties people, not,
We're involved with it too.
oh, we're involved,
Yeah.
okay. Anything else, Vanessa? Al?
I just wanted to say last week on Monday, I think it was, I was playing at Pebblebrook, and my golf cart gave up the ghost. And I want to say a huge thank you to the starter and the player's assistant over there for towing me in and getting everything done. We didn't miss one stroke as far as playing golf, and they shuttled a rental card out there to us, and I was extremely pleased with that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I have a couple comments. One is the committee is charged by December 1st to supplying capital projects to the general manager and the governing board. And as long as the moving the ball machine is more than $5,000 and the useful life is more than 5 years, that can be submitted as a capital project. So that might be a way to light a fire under getting getting the ball machines moved. And that's all I have. Thanks.
Mr. Miller?
Well, Tim stole my suggestion, because I was going to say, I'm sitting back here looking at Pete Finelli going, why don't we just put moving all these frickin' ball machines out on a capital project and just take care of it? I mean, it's not that hard. I mean, we spend a lot of money on a lot of different things, and $10,000, $15,000 to move ball machines just doesn't strike me as that big a deal. I understand, per machine, still not that big a deal. Going back to Ron's comment about if it doesn't have a crease on it, I'm surprised you don't wear ties and +4s, but, you see all sorts of stuff. I mean, I play golf with a guy who regularly wears a pair of blue jeans. Okay, does it bother me? Absolutely not. So, they're in good shape, just not that big a deal. I play golf, and, I'm focused on how I'm playing my own game, not necessarily what everybody else is wearing, unless it's just so egregiously bad that I'm going, what are you thinking? So, I'm always simpler is better, and I really would just like to focus on what people should not wear rather than what they can wear. And then I think that just simplifies it. I like the idea of just putting a picture in the pro shop that says, if you got this on, turn around and leave.
Mr. Decker. Kathy? Okay, other than I will discuss with, we have one comment online, that's right.
Yes, we do. This is from Pat Banstra, 144255. As a new resident, it would be nice to know what the days and times are for league play before I try and schedule a tee time. Just a guide would be fine.
So league being charter club would be Tuesdays for ladies.
Right.
And Wednesdays for men on a weekly basis.
Is that posted anywhere, or?
Yeah.
I think she might, or he or she, I'm not even sure, might be asking, like on Tuesdays, when is league play done?
Not a set time.
It's not all day, right?
No, and each course has a
So
different
I
size.
think that's what they're trying to,
So each course has a different size group. So it depends on the golf course, but the ladies will play in the morning, and it doesn't necessarily, like Pebble Brook, for example, they have an 18-hole group and a 9-hole group, but there's some times in there that are available for residents because they're not continuous tee times. But then you get into a Deer Valley, maybe even a Trail Ridge where they are continuous. But typically, the mornings of Tuesday for ladies and the regulation courses for men can be a challenge because of the size of the groups, especially the three, Deer Valley, Grandview, and Trail Ridge, or Pebble Brook. Trail Ridge is the smallest, and there's usually some afternoon, late morning tee times available Wednesday for our residents.
What actually was the question?
Sorry, as a new resident, it would be nice to know what the days and times are for league play before I try and schedule a tee time. Just a guide would be fine.
Each week, it could vary because a different amount of people are in the leagues that play, so.
So the day stays the same, but the times will vary. Yeah.
I think so, unless he is confusing league play with group play. Right. But I would like to say, if you go on the golf portal and you go under member tee times, you can look up for each course what the tee sheet looks like. So that's also a guide to look for available tee times.
That should pretty much help. We defined the days and the fact that the times are available on the portal.
And if I can follow that up real quick, if he or she's a new resident, we have golf orientation that we host every other Friday. They can reach out to Brian in Golf Ops. His number is 544-6555, and they can set up an orientation to get all those questions answered.
Okay, thank you. And now open it up to the residents. Sir.
Dennis Hansel, 111074. Pat, I had the same question last time. Of our courses, there are 3, and I know now that it is Pebble Brook, Trail Ridge, and Stardust that have approximately 80% of the play of the other courses over the last 5 years. What are we doing to achieve more play at those courses?
They have grown over the last 10 years, so each one of those courses have grown in rounds. Todd, for Stardust, has softened it. Took out, 22 bunkers at Stardust, Todd? To make it more playable. If you're looking for an answer from a marketing standpoint, we don't market them independently. We market them collectively as 7 golf courses. So anything from online to print media to Golf Now, all of them are promoted that way.
In terms of marketing, we have a marketing center, which is our call center. And if our call center employees would get the email addresses of the outside players, we would have a ready access to when we want to have additional play at these courses, to reach out to them with any deals that may be available to encourage the additional play without the use or necessity of going to Golf Now.
Right, so we have Golf Ops has their own web or database that we solicit specials from. But as far as deals through the peak seasons of the month, we've set our rates for the year, and we follow that rate structure.
And with respect to play, I think it's important for a data-driven organization to find out the amount of play at all courses compared to the amount of potential play at all those courses. In other words, are we at 80% of potential play, 60%? And I think it's also instructive, once we retrieve that data, how do we compare with other courses?
So you're talking an occupancy rate is what you're talking about.
100% right.
Right. That sounds like you might have an accounting background with the occupancy rate. So we have all that information. And all of our, during peak season, case in point, industry average for occupancy rate on peak tee times is around 66%. When we are in peak rates, we're at 85 to 90%. So yeah, we exceed all of that, but there's always room for improvement, but we have 7 pretty good busy golf courses. Yeah.
Well, one thing I do notice is from 1 o'clock to 1:30, there are tee times available. And if we continue to do the same thing, we will not see different results. There's been a number of different suggestions, such as instead of having 2 twilight times, to have 3, 1, 2, and 3 o'clock.
Yeah, you're going to find a half hour between any type of rate change. You're always going to have a dead zone because they're going to wait for that change. So what we do is we push our Golf Now rounds in that half hour. So their round is always at 1:22, the 8 minutes before twilight and super twilight. So that's how we combat that.
Well, once again, if you continue to do the same thing, you're not going to get a different result.
Thank you. Just to wrap it up, we agreed to establish a working group, and I will get with Carl and Todd, and we'll discuss getting the movement of all the ball machines out to their permanent locations near the driving range. We'll see if we can get that on the capital budget for next year. Any other last-minute items? We will adjourn this meeting at 3:24 and meet again on December 12th at 1:30 here in the lecture hall. Thank you.